When you ask somebody to volunteer, there was always a lot of people to volunteer. All the community, different counties, Tuscarawas County, Harrison County, all the counties around here got behind it because it was really it was a community affair for the soldier boys.
This was such a big project that when the people heard about it, they was here with helping hands. You never had to ask twice.
Everyone, first of all, felt it was their duty. And so therefore, it wasn't an effort. There was no effort to come here. They wanted to do it. We felt honored to do it. We were glad that we had the opportunity.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but I knew about it for a while, but I didn't know how to get to work there. And then one night a friend of ours who belongs to the Dover VFW said, "Come quick, we need help. We don't have enough women to handle the canteen." And I said, "Oh, just what I wanted to do. I wanted to meet all these nice young men going through." But that isn't what we did when we got here. We made sandwiches, we worked hard, and that was my first experience. And then from then on, apparently I did a good job, because after that, then they'd call and say, "Hey, come on down again." You dropped everything and went.
So I used to ride my bicycle up Center Street from the park, which is the east end of town, and when we knew that a train was coming in, but we were never allowed anywhere near the boys. We had to stand against the back walls over here and just observe. We weren't allowed to be a part of the food process or get in the way for fear that we would get hurt. And as fast as they served, they only stopped here long enough to get water. And those boys, some of them didn't even get a chance to get off, and they were handed sandwiches through the windows of the train. And of course, we couldn't get that close.
Seeing the soldiers in their uniforms, I thought that was really a treat. At that age, why, I was as tall as I am now, and boys were pretty special in my life at that time. So I thought those servicemen were pretty special.
But when they got word that the train was coming, we were told, my sister and I were told, to stay in and not come out during that time. So my vision of it all came from these windows and looking at the background of all these people working, but mostly my emphasis was looking at the soldiers and sailors as they got off the train and thinking how nice looking they were. So in order to somehow get my name or some involvement, I was busy with the magazines that were piled up inside to hand out to the men if they would take them. And I was busy putting my name and address inside the magazines.
When I was in high school, I was about to graduate in 1942, and we lived close by, and several of my girlfriends and I were coming home, and Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, Reverend and Mrs. Johnson, I believe, from the Salvation Army, were over there, and they were starting the canteen and asked us if we would like to help. So, of course, we got permission, and we did. And every time we would hear a train whistle, we'd run to come down here because we were within shouting distance of the whistle. So we would run down, and when we saw the Railway Express going out, we knew it was time to come across. The canteen then, of course, was across the road. And we would get our sandwiches and rush right over.
Volunteers came from the 8 surrounding counties of Tuscarawas County, and not only were they responsible to come down as volunteers, but they were also supposed to bring with them food for their shifts and also have fundraisers, collect money. Everybody did something different. I heard of a man who was just here on a tour the other day who had a big alumni football game to raise money. So everybody was doing something different, something that they could do, and they were responsible to chip in some money or some supply. So it really came from all over Ohio and the 8-county area. As we've always said from the beginning, this is not just a Dennison thing, it's a very wide project.
It gave them a great thrill to think that they could take a part in giving this service for what the boys was giving us. And they never hesitated a minute. Came out with smiles, regardless how they felt, regardless what the weather is, rain, sleet, snow, sunshine, they still had a smile for the boys.
the farmers that had orchards, especially in the fall, would they'd say, well, we can't give you money, we can't give you this, but we will give you bushels of apples. Well, that was just as welcome as anything else. And you just can't imagine, I don't know that anybody ever refused anything that we ever asked for. Maybe they wouldn't give us as much as we needed, but you know, a little bit from a lot of people really made a big difference.
And I was the supervisor for our village, and every woman that I had asked and every teenage girl that could go, we came here the first Saturday of each month, because that's when most of them could attend, and they helped make the sandwiches and prepare the coffee and things, and we brought the cookies and also the fruit for the 6 trains that we served from 6 in the morning until 6 in the evening.
I used to work on Tuesday night with my sister, and Mr. and Mrs. Clifford Weiss from Sugar Creek always had, that was their night. And they wouldn't allow you to fix anything for the boys. Sugar Creek people sent all the food that their group served. They brought all the food themselves. They would make big rolls of cheese. Oh, they had everything for them boys. But they didn't want anything taken from them. They wanted to give it themselves. And every Tuesday night, they would come, and they would have so much food for those boys.
And when they first started, I was supervisor of Sugar Creek, Shanesville area. And I also worked for the Dennison Presbyterian Church on their nights. And we had many experiences with Sugar Creek, Shanesville. They were very famous for Swiss cheese up there. And when they would come, they would bring loads of Swiss cheese, all kinds of cookies, candy, and you name it.
And we got, everybody was so willing, everybody wanted to help. And we had farmers who would give fruit, and the ladies would bake cookies and donuts and candy or anything that we needed. And then we had 2 churches, a Methodist and a Presbyterian. And so they would take turns and take their turn and come. And it wasn't hard to get food at all, because a lot of the mothers had boys in the service, including me. I had a son out there fighting too.
Yeah, everybody got in a line. One got the bread ready, and you had it in your hands like this, and by the time you turned around, there was meat on it, and you were slapping it together, and they were putting it in an envelope in a bag. And if you were lucky enough to have cookies or donuts, that also went in the bag.
And then one morning, when a group of boys was going through about 4 o'clock, and it was a snowy night, and then everything was dark, but when they pulled into the station, they saw a light. And they couldn't believe that the women would be out on a stormy and a bad night, ready to serve them. But not one train went through that wasn't served.
The canteen operation was made possible through the dedication of volunteers from Tuscarawas and surrounding counties. By the time the canteen had greeted its final soldier, 13% of all U.S. military personnel in World War II had experienced a visit to Dreamsville.